Hi everyone. This is just a very quick 5 to 6 minute video, just giving you a bit of an idea about how some of the ways we interpret events can maintain a cycle of either anxiety, depression, or negative affect. So this is a very basic formulation based on a CBT model. So that's a cognitive behavioral therapy model. And CBT is a psychological theory that explains how the way we think, the way we interpret events, affects the way we feel, which in turn affects what we do, our behavior, and also affects our physiology. So a direct connection with aspects of our body such as blood pressure, pupil dilation, muscle tension, those kind of things. It's all very interconnected. So if you have a look at the image here, we've got a trigger. And these are otherwise known as antecedents, or things that happen before our cycle of depression, anxiety, panic, or negative mood actually takes effect. And often as a psychologist, I'm asked to provide what's called observational assessments of patients. And this may be any patient, but in my line of work, patients affected by dementia and behavioural disturbance. And this assessment often involves me just sitting quietly, inconspicuously, watching a patient for, it's my dog in the background making all that racket, watching a patient for 90 minutes on one occasion, and then at another 90-minute period of time at a different time of the day to get, well, it's only like a window of information, but hopefully that information will generalize and give me an idea of what might be triggering the challenging behaviors. So this model can apply to anyone. It can apply to your loved ones if you're having problems managing their difficult behaviors, but it's intended here to apply also to you. So noticing the things that trigger you as a caregiver and what and how that impacts the way you think, your mood, and your physiology. So the first part is being your own psychologist and having a bit of some introspective analysis, looking at what triggers you and being able to identify that. And I actually think this is the hardest part, is working out what triggers you. And keeping a bit of a mood diary is helpful, and working out what has happened just before you've been set off. And often you will find a pattern. Either that pattern will be in a time of the day, or it will be something that has happened, something particular that has happened. It might be a person that has triggered you. So you're trying to look here for the who, the where, the what, the when, and the how, so that you're able to identify the trigger. Then what you're going to do is see what happens here in what are negative automatic thoughts. This is sort of like a tape that runs in your head. And if you're going to keep a log or a record of this, you will find a theme here. And this comes from, or I won't go off on a tangent, but it comes from, Ocean, sit down. Very professional. Comes from your childhood, how you've been raised to think. It comes from prior experiences, but ultimately it becomes a negative automatic thought because you don't even actually consciously realize you're doing it. So you have to pay attention to these thoughts to identify what those NATs, negative automatic thoughts, are for you. So what we're looking for is what's triggering us and then what we think. Now, I know my thinking style can be negative at times, and often I go into a mode of being unable to cope. So in a way, lacking distress tolerance. So as soon as I feel something that is unpleasant, a sensation or an experience or a person that triggers me, I often have this tape that goes in my head saying, I can't manage this, I can't deal with this, this is too hard, I need to get away. And when you have thoughts like that, the emotions are going to follow. So the emotions here for me may be ones of fear, apprehension, discomfort that invokes a sense of depressed kind of mood. And when that occurs, it feeds into what I do. Now for me, I'm an avoider, so I'll try and run away from that negative stimulus or that negative emotion. So I'll try and check out, leave, lock myself in a room, try to run away from everyone, escape. And we all have these very differently. So the idea here is to get your own plan, your own formulation organized so that this is specific and relevant to you. I'm just giving you an example of a bit of a formulation that applies to me. And then noticing what happens in your body. So my body tenses. I can actually physically feel my body tensing, my jaw clenching. I might sweat. I might get heart palpitations. I might even get headaches. I'm presuming my blood pressure is increasing in those moments. But then I get this physical sensation that my body is not coping, which then goes back to my thinking and reinforces that initial thought that I can't manage, I'm no good, I got to get myself out of here. And you can see how this cycle and the arrows all line up, that it just becomes a vicious cycle and a decline. And that is a bit of a theory behind how anxiety and depression can be maintained. So I'm not going to go into the therapeutic side of that, but basically it's identifying this pattern first and then changing these aspects of the formulation. We can come back to this in a later video and look at how to sort of cut that pattern, intercept that pattern, and break this cycle of thinking. But the first step is identifying it. So the challenge here is, if you're interested in looking at changing either a behavior or modifying the behavior of a loved one, or even modifying, modifying your own way of responding, then step one is getting this kind of formulation filled out for yourself so it's relevant and individualized for you. So it's up to you if you want to have a go at doing this, and then I'll follow up with a second video as to how to intercept this and what methods we use to try and cut that pattern of behavior. So that's it for now. Have a go at filling out your own formulation if you're interested, or you can have a go at being the psychologist and observing your loved one and trying to work out how they may trigger your response. Okay, hope that's helpful. See you later.